All right. I think we are live. All right. So it looks a little dark on the screen to me. It looks bright on the camera. You guys tell me if I need to brighten things up or not. But while we're waiting to get going here, let me just, sorry, I got distracted by the chat already. Let me get the disclaimers out of the way. This is a weekly live broadcast, generally Thursday evenings, 7 o'clock Central. This is where I'm at. And I just do my best to respond to all the comments or all the chat that comes in during the live chat itself. So if you have a question, you have a comment, anything you want to do, ask me. I tend to skip over if you're talking to somebody else in the chat. That doesn't bother me at all. You can do that, fine with it. But I just tend to skip over those. Let me get a little closer here, make sure the microphone's picking me up. I tend to skip over those. I tend to try to respond to every other chat that comes in during the live chat. So I haven't been good at answering comments lately. If you've got a question, this is probably the best place to do that. I am trying to get back into the habit of answering the comments and the questions that come in on comments on videos, but really this is probably the best time to get a hold of me. The only thing I ask is be polite, be family friendly. Don't start cussing at us. Don't call us names. Don't be hateful or anything like that. We'll have to kick you out. All right, let's get into it. Hello to you, Joy. Good to see you from Western Oregon. Charles Smith says, let's see, I have a 9300 Little Giant Series incubator, and it fluctuates temp up and down 8 to 12 degrees. How would you set the temp to stay at 99.5? 8 to 12 degrees fluctuation is a lot. A couple of things I would say is check to see if there's something that's causing that. Is there a draft in that area? I had problems with my incubator one time. I was losing lots of chicks, getting terrible hatch rates. And I'm looking over there because that's where I usually put it. You guys can't see it, but I had it sitting in front of a window and I had the blind open. So in the daytime when the sun would come up, it'd come through and heat that incubator up. So do you have it sitting over a heater vent or, in a drafty location or something like that? That may be something you can do is move it to another location and see if that helps. If you're still having a lot of problems with it, you might check with the company, Miller Manufacturing, let them know and see what they can do. It could be a problem with your thermostat. 8 to 12 degrees, I'm not sure you're going to be able to adjust for that to stay at 99.5 degrees. You could try, but the chances are if it's going 8 to 12 degrees, I mean, that's getting up. If you try to set it in the middle to where the middle of it is 99.5, it's going to be up in 105, 106, 107, and that's really too warm. Or it's going to be dropping down in the 80s. That's really too cold. I don't know how bad it fluctuates. So, I really can't tell you where to set it necessarily, but do check again. Check for drafts, a heater vent or, in an open, a window open that, the sun's coming through and hitting the incubator, something like that, and see if that helps that. Tony from Toronto, good to see you. Thanks for joining. Hey, Jasmine is here. Good to see you, Jasmine. Thanks for joining. It says, Happy New Year, Chris, and same to everyone tuning in from Crane, Missouri, and happy to be listening in tonight. We're happy to have you. Happy New Year to you as well. S.O. Swanson, hello, Chris, and you wonderful people. Greetings from Memphis. Please send heat. I don't have any here. It's cold out today. Let's see. Jasmine says, Chris, I had the same thing happen with my doe as yours. She had one singleton, very large and late and stillborn. Yep, I know that feeling. I believe I'll also be looking for a new breeder. My does are 4+ years old. That's very sad. It is indeed. If you find a new breeder, let me know because I'm still on the lookout for rabbits right now. And you're not that far from me. So, chances are if you find a breeder anywhere close, we can both benefit from that. So let me know. If I find one, I'll let you know. I did see some Tamucks advertised in Tulsa the other day. Tamuck composites, but it wasn't Tulsa. It was around Tulsa. But I haven't been able to reach out to that guy yet. Let's see. Joy says, we're at 65 degrees here today. Snow last week. Oops, not 65, 55. Okay. 55 degrees snow last week. Yeah, we had pretty much been the opposite. It was nice and warm, and then it got super cold. We had snow today. Not a lot of snow, but we did have snow. Axel says, do you sell rabbits live? I've sold a few from here and there. I don't have any rabbits right now. I had to get rid of my breeders. I'm looking for new ones. My breeders aged out. They were too old, so I'm looking for new rabbits right now. But occasionally I do sell some live rabbits, but I just do it locally through Craigslist, just a couple here and there. Not very often. It's not something I commonly do. Jasmine says, we are the exact opposite here. That's what I just said. We're the exact opposite. She says, snow and frigid cold. They canceled schools today even. They didn't cancel them here. We didn't get that much snow. It says the quail don't mind the cold or the snow, and the chicken do, though. They stayed in the coop all day today. Yeah, I bet they did. 12 gauge says, hey, Chris and all from Mountain View, Arkansas, going to be 15 here tonight. Brr. Yeah, that's pretty cold. I think it's already 15 here. Let's see what the temperature is here. Let me check real quick. I'll tell you. I think it's probably already that, and I think it's supposed to get down to like 11 degrees tonight. We'll see. What's it say? What's it say? And, of course, it's taking forever to load. I'll just set that there for a minute, and then I'll tell you. Katrina from Gilroy, California. Here, let me disconnect from my Wi-Fi. For some reason, my Wi-Fi doesn't seem to work very well, and disconnecting usually fixes it. Try that again. Well, this app, there we go. Maybe it's working. You guys don't care now, do you? Anyway, 12 degrees right now. The low tonight is 11 degrees. So I have no sympathy for you. No, I'm kidding. 15 degrees is still pretty cold. There's not much of a difference, really. So, yeah, I feel for you. You have my sympathy. Katrina says, hello, everyone from Gilroy, California. Good to see you, Katrina. Hey, Whiskey Tango Farms is here. Hello, Chris and everyone. Below 0 tonight. Been cold for the past few days. Yeah, it's been pretty cold here, too. Not below 0. I mean, the wind chill's below 0, but not the temperature. It's been, I think we got up to 25 degrees today, but the sun was out in the afternoon. Really wasn't too bad. But it's cold now. The sun's gone down. Luckily, the wind's not blowing too hard, so it may be below 0 wind chill because we're only at 12 degrees, but it's not blowing too hard. All right, Jeff Martin says, hey, all from Nebraska. Good to see you, Jeff. Corey says, good evening, Chris, from Central Michigan. Good to see you, Corey. I scrolled too far. There we go. Jasmine says, looks good and sounds good. All right, thank you. I appreciate it. Katrina says, our baby bunnies are doing great, and some of them are even starting to eat pellets and drink water just like Mama does. Well, that's good to hear. Goes on to say, I did catch Tortellini nursing her babies last night. There was one bunny on its back with the feet stretched out while nursing. So cute. Yeah, I've seen them do that before too. It's kind of funny. But yeah, if they're starting to eat their mother's food too, yeah, that's probably, I'm guessing, somewhere around 10 days old, somewhere right around in there. That's usually when they start getting out of the nest box, start eating their mother's food. It's not time to wean them off. You probably already know that. Wait till they're about 6 weeks old. They will start eating their mother's, the pellets and things like that long before they're ready to be completely weaned. But you probably already know that. You weren't asking for any advice, just in case anybody else is wondering. Hello to you, Bags of Love from North Carolina. Make It Make says, thank you for your live chats. Why are all my quail beating each other up? I found one almost dead due to overpecking. The poor little thing's eyes were gone and lots of feathers as well. Oh, that's terrible to hear. Yeah, unfortunately, that's not that uncommon. Quail can be somewhat aggressive. Usually you don't see that in an established flock. Like if you raise those birds from an egg together, they're usually not going to be too much fighting. Occasionally you'll have a super aggressive bird for whatever reason that just goes around and picks on all the other birds. If you can identify that bird, the best thing to do is to remove it, call it from your flock, because I believe that really aggression can be something that's genetically passed on as well. And it's probably best to remove that, not breed that one, not have eggs that you're going to reproduce other birds that could be aggressive as well. Not only that, but just for the health of your flock, just get it out of there so you don't have to worry about it. The other things that can cause them to fight is whenever you start bringing in new birds. So if these are birds that you got as adults or have been separated for a period of time, a fairly long period of time, a month or two or something like that, or are just completely brand new birds that you threw in with your existing birds, there's almost always going to be some fighting that goes on right there, especially if you've got lights on your birds. So they're laying eggs, they're breeding, the roosters are crowing. That makes them a little bit more susceptible to, being aggressive with newer birds that come in. They just do that as a way of kind of protecting their territory for a number of reasons. Other things that can cause that would be if you have maybe too many roosters. Too many roosters means that they're going to be breeding your hens too heavily. There may be some, dominance kind of fighting going on, trying to establish their dominance over the other birds so they have the breeding rights. You only really need one rooster for about every 5 hens, and any more than that, you could go 1 to 4. That's probably okay, but I wouldn't go any more roosters than that. That's a little bit over the top. Now, if you don't have lights on them, and they're outside, right now the days are pretty short, assuming you're in North America. Don't know if you are or not, but the days are pretty short, so they shouldn't be in the breeding mode, shouldn't be laying eggs, shouldn't be crowing, any of those kinds of things. And you probably just end up with like maybe an aggressive bird, and it's going to be best to try to identify which bird that is. Watch them pretty closely, see if you can find one bird that's starting all the fights or something like that, and pull that bird out. A lot of times that's going to be a hen. I don't know why, but the hens tend to be more aggressive sometimes. Anyway, I don't know that that's going to help too much. I don't know if that's going to be the exact issue, but those are the things that come to mind. Hopefully that helps out. Robert, hello, Chris. Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you too, Robert. Axel says, do you breed rabbits in the winter, summer, or both? Primarily in the winter time. Where I live in Southwest Missouri, it gets pretty hot in the summertime. It's not uncommon for us to be 100 degrees with 80% humidity. And when it gets over about 90 degrees, that's pretty hot for the rabbits. They've got big fur coats on, so they're much more comfortable in the wintertime. Even when the temperatures are dropping below freezing, it's fine. I continue to breed them all winter long, and then I usually stop around somewhere mid-spring, early spring, and let them have the summer off because it's just too hot to be breeding them at that point. I've actually had issues when I've bred rabbits a little bit later in the heat of summer and losing babies to the heat, whereas I don't really have any issues losing babies to the cold, even when it's below freezing or 0 degrees. As long as they're in the nest box, I've never had any issues with really losing them to the cold. So I breed primarily in the wintertime. Now that could change a little bit. There are some breeds of rabbits that are much more heat tolerant. Tamucks are one of those. That's one of the reasons I'm looking for Tamuck rabbits, because they are bred to be much more heat tolerant than some of the other rabbits. And I got to call this one out. I just got a $10 super chat from Freedom Quail Farm. Says, thank you for getting me into quail and rabbits. It's all your fault. Oh, no. I don't want to be blamed for that. But, hey, I'm glad you're finding the videos and things useful. And hopefully things are going well for you. Thank you for the super chat, by the way. I really do appreciate that. Let's see. Whiskey Tango Farm says, how are the new chicks doing? When is the plan to move them outside? Well, they're doing pretty well. I've got them down now with no heat lamp on them. So they're getting down to about 65 degrees, somewhere right around in there. We don't keep our house super warm, usually between 65 to 68 degrees. And they're in this back room, so it's a little bit cooler back here, but probably right around 65 degrees. They're pretty well acclimated to it. I'm looking at them right now. They're in the brooder box over there. Starting to get a little crowded in there. One little brooder box with about 40 birds in it. But now that I've got them off the heat lamp, it's easy to separate them out into the 2 different brooder boxes. So I don't know exactly when they're going to go outside because, like I said, it's 11 degrees tonight, and it's supposed to be down to 25 degrees tomorrow night. And so it's going to be at least another week. What I may do is move them out to the garage where it gets a little bit cooler. It gets down in the 50s and 40s sometimes when it's really cold out, and give them maybe a week or, probably about a week to acclimate to that before I move them outside of the outside hutches. They are getting pretty big, though. They're probably going on about 4 weeks old right now, so they're pretty much feathered out. They are all feathered out. Sorry, I got a work note here real quick. Sorry, guys. Hang on just 1 second. All right, where was I at with that? Oh, the chicks, how they're doing. Yeah, they're doing great. They're feathered out. They're still not huge yet, so I'm giving them just a little bit more time. But they are pretty much acclimated to no heat lamp and doing just fine. Haven't lost any. I lost one, about a week and a half ago. But it was one that it looked a little odd for a couple of days. I'm not sure what was going on with it. But all the rest of them are doing fine. Let's see, Live Off Grid or Live Off Grid, I'm not sure which one it is, says, hey, Chris, Happy New Year. My 11-month-old bunnies are still in one big cage. Oh, wait, my 11 2-month-old bunnies are still in one big cage. One started to barber the other one, although it's not aggressive, and grooms the others as well. What's your advice? Probably a good time to go ahead and separate them out, at least your does from your bucks, because they could start to try to breed at this point. You said barber the other one. That's probably a typo. You probably mean something like bother or something. I'm not sure exactly, but it sounds like they're starting to show a little bit of aggression. Could be your does getting a little bit territorial. They're going to need their own space. I don't know what you're raising them for. If you're raising them for meat, go ahead and process them. It's time to process them. If you want to keep them for breeders, then it's time to get them into their own cages and get them separated. And at least at this point, separate your males from your females and try to put, your males in one cage, your females in the other cage, and that should help with that. Hey, Tom made it. Hello to you too, Tom. Let's see. Katrina says, no babies yet from my broody mom. Today was the first day I thought there might be a little hatching. Wish us luck the next few days. Yeah, absolutely. Good luck to you. I'm kind of curious to see how that goes. Good evening to you, Jesse Mills. Good to see you. And let's see what we're saying here. Okay, sorry. Work text is coming through. I've just got to check and see if I've got to respond to him or not. Hello to you, Naomi, from the UK. Good to see you. I don't know what time it is over there, but I want to say it's like incredibly early in the morning, isn't it? I don't remember how the time difference, but either way, thanks for staying up or getting up early or whatever it is. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it. Let's see, Kelly. Hey, Chris, I set the notification so I'd remember to watch the lives too. Can't wait for you to drop some knowledge on me. Well, thank you very much for doing that. I appreciate that. Whiskey Tango Farms says, make sure to hit the like button. Oh yeah, I always forget to ask for that. Thank you, Whiskey Tango Farms. I appreciate it. Let's see. Dottie, hello. Thanks for all your continued help. Tonight our temp is 18. Should we put straw in the coop or extra sand? No, you don't need to worry about it. We're getting down to 11 degrees tonight. We were down to, 18 last night. Now, if you don't have okay. When you say extra sand, I'm assuming you have a sand box of some kind in there. The birds can get in and protect them from updrafts from underneath. If you don't have that, yeah, it's probably good to put some kind of box, something. It doesn't have to necessarily have sand in it, but something where they can get in it and get out of the wind so they're protected on all sides from the wind. That would be probably a good idea. But other than that, you don't need to worry about it. You don't need to put straw in there. You don't need to put extra sand. There's no heat lamp, nothing like that. You don't need to worry about it. They should do just fine. Tom says, Chris, I've been watching your videos for about a year. I'm from Seattle, but I live in the Philippines now. Well, awesome. Thank you for watching the videos. I appreciate that. Hey, Glenn says, hello from Joplin. That's my hometown. That's where I live, in Joplin. I'm assuming you live in Joplin, Missouri. There's a Joplin, Montana, but I'm assuming since you put Joplin in there, it's Joplin, Missouri. If you see me around town, make sure to stop me and say hello. Chances are I won't know who you are, so you're going to have to tell me, but I always like to say hi to people whenever I'm out and about. Whiskey Tango Farm says, hey, Chris, the Quail Daddy's calendar is live now on our website. Oh, yeah, I forgot. We got to push that, don't we? So, yeah, go check out. Go ahead and drop a link in here if you can to where they can get to that and buy that. If you guys are looking for that, that would be good. Sorry, another work thing I had to respond to. Yeah, if you're looking, if you guys haven't seen that, you got to go check it out. It's pretty entertaining anyway. You get to see pictures of me in a pink bathrobe, and not just me, several other people. Brandon actually put a dress on. Brandon from Whiskey Tango Farms is wearing a dress in the calendar. So it's pretty entertaining, pretty fun. Go check it out. If you buy one, all the proceeds go to next year's QuailCon, or this year's QuailCon, I guess. We're in 2022 now. Katrina says, any suggestions on getting rabbits to stop kicking feed out of their J feeders? I had a bowl under one that is particularly good at doing this. I'm thinking I will have to do a hanging bucket under it. Oh boy, that's a good question. I've heard of people having some issues with that. I've never personally had problems with it. Let me make sure that one. Okay, sorry. I haven't personally had problems with rabbits that are kicking feed out of their feeders, but I've heard of other people having issues with that. One thing that I have seen people do is put a piece of cage wire, just cut it to fit the opening, like 1 inch by 2 inch or something like that, or 2 inch probably square if you have, the bigger whole cage wire, and just cut it to fit right in there in the opening of that. So they can still get the feed out, but they can't get their paws in there to kick it out of there, if that makes sense. You might try that and see how that works. Other than that, you might try raising it up a little higher if that's a possibility. Chances are you've got a hole cut in your cage, so moving it is going to be difficult to do. Or I don't know of any other good suggestions for that, unfortunately. Maybe somebody else has a suggestion in here. They've dealt with it and got it fixed. All right. Let's see. Kelly says, I have a question. How do you raise meat rabbits without feeling bad? I do fine with quail, but I can't seem to get in the right headspace for any other meat animal. Well, that is definitely a tough thing to do. I mean, it's hard to, I think part of it is I grew up in a country family. So I grew up in a family where we did a lot of hunting, a lot of fishing. We provided for ourselves a lot of what we ate. We gardened, produced a lot of our own vegetables, hunted a lot of our own meat. We didn't raise, my grandparents actually raised chickens. So this has been my whole life. I've been processing animals. It's just part of life for me. But it's still hard. It's not necessarily easy when you have to dispatch a rabbit to put in your freezer, especially when you're up close and personal with it. It's just not an easy thing to do. I don't know if I have great tips on that because, I guess my tip is just don't overthink it. You just kind of, it's just part of what's got to be done. So you just don't overthink it. I don't give myself time to really think about what I'm doing. It's just do it and be done with it. So I don't know if that makes sense or not. I don't know if that's any help or not. I don't know. As far as feeling bad, I mean, I don't feel bad for it. I don't necessarily enjoy it. When it comes to the processing part, it's not something I enjoy doing, but I don't feel bad about it because, I mean, rabbits are a prey species. That's what they're here for, is for feeding other animals, ourselves. That's kind of what they were created for. So, it's not necessarily something I feel bad about necessarily, but at the same time, I want to make sure I treat them with respect. They have a good life, all those kinds of things. I want the only bad moment to be just just one moment, real quick, painless as possible, and then it's over. That's kind of my philosophy on it. But I don't know if I can help if you're having a hard time with it. It's not something I really struggle with, so I'm not sure that I can really help you too much with it, unfortunately. All right. Dottie says, I'm asking about my quail needing warmth tonight. Very cold in Mississippi. That's what I was responding to. I don't know if you heard my response before you put this down or not, but I get what you're asking about your quail. You don't need to do anything. They should be just fine. It's it's kind of funny to me that well, never mind. I don't want to say that because it sounds rude. I don't mean it rude, so I'll just skip over that and say something different. No, you don't need to worry about putting anything out there for your birds. As long as they have wind block, they can get out of the weather. They're protected from the wind on all four sides. I guess it's more like 6 sides, isn't it? Yeah, 6 sides, all the way around them, on top and on bottom. As long as they're, have a place they can get in, that they're protected from all the weather, they're going to do just fine. You shouldn't have to worry about it at all. We're getting down well below 11 degrees tonight. I've had them. We got down last winter, down to 4 degrees below zero, and I never added anything extra for the birds. Now they do have a sand box in there, but I didn't add any extra sand. I didn't put any hay. I didn't put any straw. No heat lamps, nothing like that. Didn't lose a single bird. They're all just fine. So it shouldn't be anything you have to worry about. And let's see. Emergency Prep Guy says, hey to everyone. Hello to you. Jason says 26 below zero tonight in Minnesota. That's probably the wind chill, right? Not the actual temperature. Maybe. I don't know. Tom says, I don't miss the cold. It's 80 degrees here right now. Yeah, I don't doubt it. Naomi says -3 degrees where I am. Yeah, that's pretty darn cold. I don't know if you guys, you're probably used to it, so you're probably pretty well insulated and all those kinds of things. But here, when it gets down below 20 degrees, got to leave my faucets dripping, so I don't have to worry about any kind of frozen pipes. It's cold. Emergency Prep Guy says we're back up to 28 degrees now. Shorts and t-shirt weather. Yeah, no kidding. Okay. Whiskey says -9 degrees without the wind chill tonight. Yeah, I believe that. -9. I don't doubt it, but you guys are way up there in the north. You know what I would do if it was -9 degrees there, and I would move south. That's what I would do, but that's just me. Katrina says, I don't remember if I updated people on the rabbit we found in our yard. I found a good home for it. We have to live on an organic farm to eat organic food and poop organic poop to grow organic food. Okay. that's great. I'm glad that you found a good home for it. Let's see. Tom says, my first rabbit started nesting 2 days ago. What should I feed her? The same thing you've been feeding her. You don't really need to change her diet at all. Once she has her babies, you'll definitely want to make sure that she has feed available to her at all times. Don't ration her at that point. But up until that point, you really don't need to change anything. Feed her about as much as she'll eat within 24 hours. Once she actually has the babies, then keep the feeder full all the time. And that's as much for whenever the babies start to eat as it is just to make sure that she's got plenty of food. But up until then, you don't need to change anything. And even after then, you don't need to change what you're feeding her. In fact, I would suggest don't change what you're feeding her, at least not drastically. If you want to introduce something else to her, go ahead and do that, but do it gradually. Drastic changes in diet can be pretty rough on a rabbit. Their digestive systems are a little bit fragile. So if you go from feeding a rabbit that you've been feeding nothing but pellets, and then you switch it over to nothing but like fresh greens and vegetables, chances are you're going to have real big problems with that rabbit. They can easily develop diarrhea, and rabbits that have diarrhea don't last very long. So I would suggest you don't make a big change to her diet at this point. One thing I will say too, though, if you're looking for the best grow out on your rabbits, really just pellets. That's going to be the best grow out. So it's probably not best to do any change. I mean, I'm assuming you're feeding pellets now. Just keep feeding what you're feeding. You're going to be just fine. Naomi says, typical weather in the UK. Which one? What's typical weather? Oh, -3 degrees. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I would move from there too. But we get cold, but we don't get cold and stay cold for very long. We very seldom get down below zero. We're 11 degrees tonight. That's not uncommon. That's pretty common. Sometimes we'll get down to 0, but very rarely, maybe once or twice a winter, and it's just for a day or two at the most. But then we get back up. We usually don't spend like days on end below freezing. We're going to have like today. It started getting pretty cold last night. Today was below freezing. Tomorrow's going to be below freezing, I believe. And then after that, I think our daytimes get back up in the 40s and 50s. So it's not too bad, actually. Hello to you, Belinda. Jennifer Myers says, hello from East Tennessee. Quail are crazy. It's snowing and they're out in the open part of the hutch. Yeah, they don't seem to mind it nearly that much. We worry about it, but they seem to do just fine. I went out, was it this morning maybe? Or yesterday? No, it was yesterday because was it cold? I can't remember. It was whenever I shot the video. So it was over the weekend. It was pretty cold out. And the last video I shot. I went out to water them that night because it stayed below freezing all day. And it was getting pretty late. It was starting to get dark, and they were out. Half of them were out in the open area of it. I went out the next morning. They were still out there. They slept out in the open, out in the wind. Out on the wire, no protection anywhere around them. They just stayed out there all night long and did just fine. So Katrina says, hello to you, Jay Moore. Missed your comment. Hello. Katrina says, regarding the quail with finding issues, what's the male-female ratio? Could have too many males. Yeah, I agree. That could definitely be the issue. Freedom Quail Farm says, hello, my doe had 2 babies again. One bunny didn't make it last night. The other baby is fat, happy, and warm. I am shelving the last baby bunny and bringing the doe in to nurse as it's freezing here in Colorado. Yeah, that's probably a good suggestion, because if you've only got one baby rabbit, when I talk about having my babies survive cold, even below freezing when they're in the nest box, there's multiple babies in there. So they kind of all huddle together. That, combined with the fur that the mother pulls and puts over the top of them, keeps them plenty warm. But if you've only got one baby, That's it. There's nothing for it to snuggle up to help keep it warm. So yeah, it's probably a good idea to go ahead and shelve the baby at that point. Freedom Quail Farm says, anything I should watch for or do to help him make it? Oh, that's in response to that. Okay. No, I mean, just, yeah, keep him covered up. Make sure that, you use the mother's fur, keep him covered up with the mother's fur, keeping him in a fairly warm place, bring the mother in or bring him out to the mother, whatever it is, a couple of times a day to see if she'll feed. That should be about it. Once he gets all his fur, then you can probably introduce him back out to the hutch and he should be fine. All right. Let's see. Whiskey Tango Farm says, hope it all goes well. Freedom Quail Farm. Yeah, I do too. And Make It says, thank you for the helpful advice. You are absolutely welcome. Let's see. Tip Top Farm says, hey there. I have one doe with 2 and one with 4. Afraid they will freeze tonight or tomorrow in Tennessee. If you're really worried about it, like, you can bring them in for the night if you want to. Just bring the nest box in, assuming they're too small to get out of the nest box. It still may be a good idea to place them in a larger container of some kind in case they do. But bring them in. It's fine. You can do that. You can bring the whole nest box in, shelve it, and then take it back out tomorrow when it's a little bit warmer out. The one with 2 in it might be a slight concern. The one with 4 should be fine. I'm as long as they've got a good nest built, plenty of straw and fur over the top of them, they're probably going to do just fine. I've kept my babies, newborn baby rabbits, well below freezing. The mother had them below, when it was below freezing, a snowstorm going on, as long as she had them in the nest box, I never have any issues with them. But if you are overly concerned, just bring them in, shelve them for the night, and that'll solve that issue. Axel says, gee, rabbit testicles. I've heard it's very good. No, I do not. And I probably won't. But you can try them if you want to and tell me if they're good or not. That sounds like one of those things like, trying to think, there was a movie. That sounds like one of those things where you're trying to talk me into doing it just to see, how it goes. But no, I'm not going to do that. Gary B says, good evening, Chris. Good evening to you, Gary. Keith says, I made some of the rabbit feet like you made, but it didn't. But I did it with squirrel. Turned out great. Thanks so much. Awesome. Glad you found that helpful. Yeah, I've never tried it with squirrel. I don't see why it wouldn't work. Should. I'm not sure what you do with a squirrel foot, though. That's a little odd, but hey, to each his own. Hello to you, Boris. Good to see you. Orlando says, hello, 24% protein for my adult quails. It's good. Yeah, 24% is fine. I like to use a higher protein myself. I like to use something, 24% is perfectly all right, but I use a 30% game bird starter, or, I like to use something about 27 to 30%, somewhere right around in there. There's lots of evidence out there that said, if you watch Zach from My Shire Quail Farm, he actually talked to some scientists or whatever, people that were probably a lot smarter than I am. And they had done a lot of research on this. So he has a pretty strict, he feeds them like a high protein game bird starter up until they get to be, I want to say it's like 8 weeks old. And then there's a transition over to another feed. I think he goes down to, I don't remember what percentage, but it's a pretty low percent, like 22%, 23% protein, something like that at that point. So you're going to do fine with 24% protein. I personally, like I said, use a 30% game bird starter for all of my birds, and they do great. But there's nothing wrong with 24%. Matthew says, hey, Chris, Happy New Year from Northern Ireland. It's 1:15 a.m. Oh, Naomi says it's 1:16 a.m. You guys are up late or early, one or the other. Either way, thank you for joining. I appreciate that. I do want to visit Ireland someday. If I search hard enough, I've probably got family back there. I know my sister did a bunch of genealogy a while back and found some distant relatives that we have living in Scotland, but we are Irish primarily, both my mom and my dad's side. So it would be nice to go back and visit and go back. I've never been there. It's nice to go and visit, see kind of where, my family roots came from. We're not all Irish. So, we got some Native American, we got some all kinds of things mixed into us, but, still it'd be kind of cool. Cheshire Cat says, have you ever added in soybean meal to add protein to quail, duck, or chicken feed? No, I have not. I guess you could, but I haven't. Whiskey Tango says, I can't post the link. It's at whiskeytangofarms.net. There you go, whiskeytangofarms.net. Sorry, I didn't think about that. That's probably, for some reason, blocked. It's probably a setting. Let me do this. Let me type it in. I can get my fingers on the right spot on the keyboard. There we go. Whiskey Tango Farm. Yeah, farms.net. There we go. I posted it down below. All right. We got Ed says, hey, Chris, you looked good on the Quail Daddy calendar. Cousin Eddie? Yeah, that was kind of the idea behind it for sure. And he goes on to say, UK time is 6 hours ahead of you. Yep, I figured that out now, but I can't ever remember that. S. McKee says, hey, everyone, eating an air-fried quail for dinner. Awesome. Let's see. Whiskey Tango Farm says, don't name the rabbits. Yeah, that's a good suggestion. Don't name the rabbits. Don't name any of your food, really. That makes it a little bit easier. All right. Max says, do rabbits hibernate? Mine hasn't moved in 3 days. No, they don't hibernate. But they will for whatever reason sometimes just get lethargic for a couple of days. Not moving in 3 days would make me a little bit concerned if it's not eating or not drinking. Sounds like there may be something wrong with it at this point. As far as what's wrong with it, I mean, it could be anything. So it's hard for me to really guess at that. I'd check the rabbit out, try to get it out of the cage, take a look at it, make sure its eyes are still bright. And, it's not like they're not droopy. They don't look dull. That's kind of a good sign that there's something wrong. I don't know where to tell you to go from there. Unfortunately, there's just too many things that it could be. But that would make me concerned if they don't move for 3 days. That's a reason to be concerned with them. Kelly says, that was helpful on the meat animals. That's the same when you do your quail. Just do it and get it done. Yeah, you just can't overthink it. That's really the key, I think. John Rice says, yes, just don't name them. Yep. Katrina says, exactly, to Whiskey Tango Farms. Moms and dads have names. Babies do not. Quail don't have names. Our 3 chickens do. Yep, that makes sense. Yeah. And Kelly, I definitely wouldn't name my food. I agree. There's a couple of back and forth I'm skipping over. John says, I don't name quail, only Splat. That was splayed legs. She got over it and kept her. Awesome. My grandma used to have a turkey. One of my family, I don't remember who it was. Some family member had this turkey. They gave it to my grandma. The turkey's name was Lurch, but when I asked her what the name was, I could have sworn she said Lunch. I thought that was such a great name for a turkey, but no, it was Lurch. It ended up like falling in her fish pond and drowning. And she had it for a couple of years though. Jason says actual air temp. I don't know what that's a response to. Was that a response to your, when we were talking about temperature earlier, and you said negative 20 something degrees? Good grief, where you live that it's negative 20 something degree air temp. Ugh. So anyway, I feel bad for you if it is. Cheshire Cat says, hey, Kelly, got over my issue with butchering rabbits by meeting people that butcher and watch their process. It was brutal, but it really helped me get into the right headspace, seeing it done properly. There you go. Jay Moore says, didn't think she made it, but did. I lost track of what we were talking. Oh, the one that had splayed legs. Okay. Yeah, that's surprising, actually. A lot of times they don't get over that. B. Hudgens says, fixing to start raising quail. What kind of jumbo should I get for meat and eggs? Yeah, if you're looking for meat and eggs, it's hard to beat Jumbo Meat Maker, Jumbo Brown, just Jumbo Wild, whatever you want to call them. It's all the same bird. But the Jumbo Brown, they're hard to beat for just meat and egg production. The good thing about them, I mean, there are other birds that will produce pretty similar results as far as size of the bird, number of eggs they lay, all that kind of stuff. But the good thing about the Jumbo Brown or the Jumbo Wild, they're the same bird. Some people call them meat makers. It's really the same thing. or jumbo pharaoh. That's another name for them too. But the good thing about them is you can just look at them and tell that's a male, that's a hen. So you can feather sex them really easily. Whereas some of the others, when you start getting into the other colors and things like that, it becomes a little bit trickier. You have to vent sex them or watch them and see one crow to know it's a rooster. So, yeah, I highly suggest the jumbo pharaohs. All right, a couple people talking to each other. I'm going to skip over those. See, John says, I'm creating my own strain of California rabbit. Got 2-week-old F2 blue boys. Okay, I don't know what that means exactly. They got blue eyes? That's interesting. I don't know. It takes a while to create your own strain of anything. I mean, it says nothing special but a cool project. 7 of them. Okay, sounds cool. I don't know exactly what you mean by F2 blue bow. I don't know what that means, but yeah, it would be a cool project for sure. But it takes a long time to actually develop a breed of rabbit or any animal for that matter. It's, what is it, like 15 generations or something like that before you can actually say that the genes are isolated, whatever it is that you're trying to produce on them. I'm not an expert on that, so I may be talking completely off topic, but good luck. I hope it works out well. Jay Moore says, like other animals, cats and dogs, you need to change food gradually is my guess with rabbits. Yeah, rabbits especially. They are a little bit more sensitive to that than other animals are. Kathleen says, how are your rabbits doing? Well, I don't have any rabbits right now. The rabbits, they aged out. They got too old really to be breeders anymore. So I ended up giving them away to somebody that wanted some extra rabbits. I don't know why. They weren't going to eat them. They just wanted them around. So good life for them, hopefully. But I don't have any rabbits. I'm on the search for new breeders right now. Tracy says, if you have any baby saver wire, how do you cut a hole for a feeder? The baby saver wire I use just up about that far of the cage. I mean, it's only on the bottom part of the cage, so the feeder goes above it. I cut the hole right above that baby saver wire. If you had it all the way up and you need to cut through that, just cut a hole through it. I mean, it's just the size of the feeder. I'm not sure. I'm kind of confused on the question exactly. It's no different than cutting a hole through any other wire, really. But yeah, I think the baby saver wire would make it a little bit more difficult because it's such small holes. You're just finding the right spacing on that might be a little bit difficult to do. But anyway, John Rice says, does anyone use the Farmer's Almanac to breed? I do not. How are we doing on time? Man, time flies. We got about 20 minutes left here. I do not, but I've used the Farmer's Almanac. I read it before, but I don't use it for breeding, no. Mel says, on really cold nights, should bring the kits inside and reunite with the doe the next day. I've never done that. Yeah, it's not bad practice. If you want to do it, there's nothing wrong with doing that. You can bring them inside on a really cold night if you want. But I've had plenty. I mean, I breed my rabbits in the wintertime. I don't have any right now, but I have bred them all wintertime. Ever since I bred rabbits, it's always been wintertime, fall through spring. And I've had baby rabbits born on nights when it's 10 degrees outside and there's snow blowing and never had a problem with it. As long as the mother has the babies in the nest box and they're covered with fur, they do just fine. But if you're concerned about it and you want to bring them in, you can do that. It's not going to hurt at all. Let's see. Kelly says, I need to start watching playlists on rabbits. I've only done show rabbits in 4-H, but not meat rabbits. And I was a long time ago, like 20 years ago. Man, I'm old. Ha. Yeah. Thought about it. This year will be my 30-year high school reunion this year. So I don't know if we're going to actually have a high school reunion or not, but 30 years since I graduated high school. That makes me feel old. S.O. Swanson says, can you elaborate on what it means to shelve the rabbits for us newbies? Oh, yeah. Shelving just means you take the nest box out of the cage from the doe, bring it inside and put it on a shelf, and then take it back out later to let the mom feed. So that's all it means by shelving. And it doesn't have to be a shelf. I mean, it can be a table. It can be whatever you want. But, yeah, that's all it means is you bring them inside, like inside your house or, a warmer place. Some people do that there's multiple reasons why you might want to shelve baby rabbits. One of them be if you're really concerned about the cold weather, you could bring them in. The other would be if, some people just shelve their rabbits so they can just monitor them a little bit better. I don't really know why it makes it more difficult in my opinion. But it is something, it's not an uncommon practice for people to do. Heather says, do it. His rabbit videos are super helpful. Well, thank you, Heather. I appreciate that. Let's see. Jim says it's 25 below here in BC, Canada. Is that British Columbia? I think it is. Have a goat, have a set of twins. Not much time when it's that cold. Yeah, 25 below is definitely cold. Is that 25 below Celsius or Fahrenheit? I don't know what the difference would be. Let's see. Negative 25 Celsius to Fahrenheit. Negative 13 degrees Fahrenheit. So either way, stupid cold out. John says, I learned a lot from his rabbit videos. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And glad to hear it. Kelly says also, heading to bed. Yep, it's only 6:30 p.m. in Utah because it's been a long day with the littles. Night all. Thanks for the info. Hey, nobody's judging you. Go to bed whenever you want to. When we got under freezing recently, my mama rabbit pulled more for a lot and made her nest even better for her babies. Went on early the next morning and saw this. They were all asleep and warm. Awesome. Yeah, that's been my experience too. I've never brought baby rabbits in when it's cold out. And like I said, I've had rabbits born on, when it's 10 degrees outside and never had an issue. All right. Where are we at here? James. Hello from Mountain View, Missouri. Have you ever heard of a freeze miser for your outside water faucets? Keeps them from freezing and still usable. I don't know that I ever have. I've seen things that are maybe the same thing. I'm not sure, honestly. But I don't really ever use my outside faucet when it's freezing out because I'm just, very seldom do I ever use my outside faucet when I don't get my hands wet or something like that. And I don't want to do that when it's freezing outside. So I pretty much just leave them alone. They're all disconnected right now just to keep them from freezing up. And like I said, we leave the faucets dripping when it's really cold out. Cheshire Cat says, I've lost babies on cold wire when they jump out of the nest box too early. So I got drop down boxes and they work great for allowing them to fall back in when they jump out. 10 to 10 would recommend. Yeah, that's a good idea, actually. Now, I don't have drop down boxes. But yeah, if your rabbits get out of the nest box, get stuck out of the nest box, yeah, that could definitely be an issue for sure. Jennifer says, my second time breeding rabbits, I had 2 successful fall-offs and my doe did not kindle. Any advice on this? I have a couple of reluctant rabbits. 2 successful fall-offs with no kindling. There could be a number of different reasons for that. My first thought is it probably is either your buck is sterile for some reason, your doe's, overaged, whatever. One of those rabbits is not reproducing for whatever reason, but successful fall-offs makes me think it was a successful breeding. You should have baby rabbits. Now, I would try again, see if the same thing holds true again. But if it does, then it's either your buck or your doe. It's hard to say exactly which one. If you try to breed your buck to other does and they produce, then it's a pretty good sign that it's your doe. Or if you can breed your doe to another buck and she produces, it's a pretty good sign that it's your buck. But who knows? It could have just been a fluke thing. You may try breeding again, see what happens. John says, oddly, my last rabbit feet never hardened after drying. Wondering if my alcohol got too much water in it and time for new. Interesting. No, they should. I don't know how long you gave them. Sometimes it takes a little while, but yeah, they should harden up. I don't know why they would. That's a good question. Glenn says, got that 30% feed in Neosho. Thanks. Yeah, you're absolutely welcome. That is the best place that I've found to get it from for sure. Katrina says, how old should kits be before the nest box comes out? Good question. I don't have a certain age where I take it out necessarily. It's probably somewhere around 4 weeks old, somewhere right around in there usually. What I do is I just watch the baby rabbits. And when they're spending most of their time outside of the nest box, then I just go ahead and pull it out. What I'll notice is that a lot of times, like I said, about 10 days old or something, they're usually starting to jump out of the nest box. But then I'll pick them back up and put them back in whenever I find them because it's hard for them to get back into the nest box at that age. That only goes on for a couple of days. Then they can usually get in and out of the nest box pretty easily on their own. And then what I do is I just, I'll go out and watch them for a while. I'll find them out of the nest box, but most of the time they're still in the nest box. Or they'll jump back in the nest box and hang out in there while I'm out there or something like that. When it gets to a point where pretty much every time I go out there, they're all out of the nest box. They're very seldom in it. I just remove the nest box at that time. Hopefully that makes sense. Katrina says, thanks for your help through my first baby bunny experience. You're absolutely welcome. Jeff says, Chris, how often do you eat quail meat? It varies. During the wintertime, not as much because I'm usually not breeding quail during the wintertime. I'm not hatching quail anyway during the wintertime. So, I don't know, a couple times a month. It varies quite a bit. John says, I turn my nest box 90 degrees after the first kits escape. Then I wait until they don't need it anymore. Yeah, what you're saying is you turn it on its side so they can still get in there and burrow into the straw and stuff like that. That's not a bad practice. That should work pretty well. My only concern would be if they were to pull all the straw out of there and then it just falls through the wire and they don't have any straw left. That would be my only concern. How are we doing on time? 10 minutes left. But no, it sounds like it works for you. So yeah, good practice. Glenn says, I have 4 litters of kits due this month. New Zealand, if you're interested. Yeah, are they? Hey, you're the one that's in Joplin, aren't you? Hey, there we go. 4 litters of kits due this month. I may be interested. Are they by chance pedigree? I'm wondering. Like, do you have papers on them or anything? I'm really looking for some good paper, pedigree rabbits. I want to be able to breed them and produce pedigree offspring to be able to offer up to some people around the area. But, if they're not, I still may be interested. Glenn says, talking about ancestry, I would have guessed you as New Zealand, as you don't have the traditional California spots on your nose. Yeah, that's a good point. I never thought of it that way. John says, I just posted a video about it on my YouTube, talking to Katrina. I'm not sure what you posted about, but let's see. Kathleen says, I'm finally building my rabbit herd. I have New Zealand's. Awesome. You can't go wrong with New Zealand's. Katrina said, I have a friend in Alaska that had a moose hanging out in her yard that would sleep below her girl's bedroom window. The girl named her Dinner. Dinner stayed until just before hunting season. Yeah, that's what happens a lot of times. A lot of times I think what happens with deer around here too is you see them like, as soon as hunting season starts, they all come into town. It's like they hang out in town. It's crazy. Freedom Quail Farm says, any advice for a buck that appears to have an ear infection? Head tilted slightly, no dirt in the ears. Likes base of ears rubbed. At the moment, giving a natural antibiotic in the ears. My guesses would be, it could be an ear infection of some kind. If it is, then yeah, you're going to have to get some kind of antibiotic to treat that, probably to clear that up. But it very well could be ear mites too, just the start of ear mites. So watch for, it sounds like you're looking for the right things. You said there's no dirt in the ears. Watch for that and see. If you start seeing scabs building up in the ears, treat for ear mites. And you can do that with just a couple of drops of olive oil or mineral oil or canola oil or any kind of food grade oil, just a couple of drops a day in their ear. They're not going to like it, but it will clear up ear mites. Heather Johnson says, I don't remember how many generations it is, but I've contemplated doing Rex coated cinnamons. Maybe one day I will, but for now, the Rex and cinnamons both need to breed for heat tolerance. Yep, absolutely. John Rice says F2 is the generation I'm on. Okay, that makes sense. Duh. It takes 7 generations of line breeding to make the babies 98% sire genetically. Bluey and Bo, I think. Were the names of the rabbits I started with. Okay, that makes more sense. Thank you for explaining that. William says, hello, I've named all my quail Delicious and or Egg Maker. That's good names for them. John says, can I candle quail eggs on day 7 to toss out eggs that aren't fertile? Day 7 seems a little early to me. I think it might be hard to tell for sure if you've got eggs that aren't developing or not. If you're going to candle them, I don't see any reason to do it any earlier than lockdown. Just wait till it goes into lockdown, candle them right before you put them in lockdown. I don't see any reason to do it any earlier than that. But you could, I guess, get away with it earlier. It just seems like day 7 would be too early to really be able to tell easily. Tom says, I feed them dried jackfruit leaves, pellets, banana leaves, elephant grass, lemongrass, fresh oregano, and banana peel sometimes. We feed what? Are we talking rabbits? Is this what you were asking me about? Like, what do you do? You've got a rabbit that's, I'm looking back. I don't know what we're talking about exactly. But so if you're feeding your rabbits that kind of stuff, then, and I think what this is response to what you asked about. You had a doe that's ready to kindle, wanted to know if you should be doing something else, feeding her something else. Sounds like all that stuff is fine. You might back off the oregano. I'm not sure about this one, so I may be wrong, but I believe oregano is in the mint family. And if it is, mint can sometimes cause rabbits to dry up and not produce enough milk. So you want to stay away from things like that. But I may be wrong about that. Oregano may not be in the mint family. I just thought it was for some reason. So I may be completely wrong. I don't know. Glenn says, I always use the almanac to breed, butcher, and even mow my grass. Well, there you go. It sounds like you got something to go by. Perfect Weather says, I have 18 baby rabbits that will be ready for harvest in about 10 days. Thank you. Well, that's awesome. I'm glad to hear that. Congratulations on a what sounds like a successful handful of litters. Tom says they also like mango leaves. Okay. Let's see. John says I got to get an almanac now. Yeah, I usually buy an almanac pretty much every year, and I read through it. I just find it interesting. I do kind of follow the planting guidelines somewhat, but that's pretty much it. Kathleen says, I have several heavy-duty tarps over my rabbits. They are all doing fine, and I have chickens too. Awesome. Yeah, rabbits, they'll do fine in the cold. Just kind of like the quail, just give them a wind block. Like you said, I keep some tarps kind of strung out when it's really cold. Jay Moore said, had a quail from March and had long wing feathers turned white, were normal till recently. Yeah, had a quail from March and okay. Interesting. So its wing feathers turned white, or its long wing feathers turned white, but it just happened recently. That's weird. I don't know that I've ever seen that happen exactly. It could just be that they just eventually grew out to that point. It just took them a while to get out there. I don't know. Tom says, guys, I bought a rabbit, but I don't know her breed. I can tell she is a Dutch mix, but I can't say any advice. Guess, because that's probably about as good as you're going to get. There's no way to know for sure exactly what breed she is if you haven't been, if you don't know who bred her and what they bred her with. Just a guess. That's all you can do. I don't have any advice for that. I'm sorry. Glenn says, starting my third batch in the incubator. Thanks for your motivation and good videos. Well, thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Feta Cheese says, can you keep quails and chickens together? I wouldn't keep them in the same pen. Unless you're talking like, well, even then I wouldn't keep them in the same pen. Quail are significantly smaller than chickens, and chickens are carnivores. Omnivores, I guess, but they will, I would be worried about them trying to kill the quail and eat the quail. That would be my concern. And there are some diseases that chickens can be carriers of that quail can contract. I don't know that that's a huge issue. But yeah, I would keep them separated a little bit. I don't think I'd keep them together. Elad says, it can get as high as 105 plus here. Anything special to do for the quail? Keep them in the shade. Yeah, they struggle in the heat for sure. Keep them in the shade. Make sure they always have access to plenty of water. Try not to ever have them in direct sunlight. If you want to put, solar powered fans or something to circulate air around a little bit, that can help. If your humidity is not too high, you could use like swamp coolers and things, like misting their hutches and things to the evaporation will help kind of keep it cool. But if you're like we are with 80% humidity in the summer, that doesn't work. You have to be in a pretty dry area for those to work. Other than that, just try not to pester them too much during the heat of the day. That's about the only suggestions I have for it. We get well over 100 degrees too in the summertime, and the quail do fine. Just keep them out of the sun. Keith says, you could also type in organic dried rabbit manure, 1 pound 211 fertilizer to find it. To find what? What are we? I'm sorry. Oh, on eBay? So you must be selling rabbit manure on eBay. I must have missed that. It was probably a conversation going on with each other. So yeah, that sounds like a great business plan. You probably got plenty of it. Good luck. I hope you sell out. Smoking Gun says, were you able to find New Zealand rabbits? Do you have any rabbits currently? I don't. I haven't been able to find any yet. Still on the lookout, but haven't found them yet. Jennifer says, give Chris some love. Hit the like. He has helped so much in my quail start. Well, thank you so much, Jennifer. I appreciate that. Glenn says, I found one doe per day when breeding. Don't try to breed several does in one day. The buck's shooting blanks, 24-hour break. Yeah, that's good suggestion. Yeah, you don't want to breed one buck to several does in one day. Yeah, you need to give them a little bit of a break. Whoa, what happened there? Message I was getting ready to respond to just disappeared. Glenn says, New Zealand, no paperwork. Well, I very well may be interested. Hit me up when they get a little bit closer. Kathleen says, are you close to Grace Hollow Rabbitry? I don't think so. I don't remember where they're located. Let me do a quick search and see. Grace Hollow Rabbitry. Somewhat familiar with them, but well, wouldn't you know it? There's no Google map here that shows me where they're located. Let's see, do they have an about page? Contact. There's a contact page. And there's no address there. I don't know where they're located. Arkansas. Well, maybe. I don't know what part of Arkansas. Oh, they say their rabbits are in Arkansas, Alabama, Kansas, Missouri. I may have to look into that a little bit more. They may be closer than I thought. Jay Moore says they do get loud in an incubator. What do quail do? Yeah, they can get noisy for sure. Smoking Gun says raising my first litter of California/New Zealand Red Cross rabbits. They're about to turn 7 weeks old. About how much do you think they should weigh at this point? At 7 weeks old, I mean, it's hard to say. It depends on a lot of things. What are you feeding them? How good are the genetics? If they've got good genetics, you're feeding them nothing but pellets. They should be probably around 6.5 pounds, roughly, 5.5 to 6.5 pounds by this time. Usually, when you've got good genetics, feeding nothing but pellets, you can get them to about 8 or about. What am I saying? I'm sorry. I'm getting my numbers backwards. They should be about 4.5 to 5 pounds, close to that, 4 to 5 pounds, somewhere right around in there. You can get them to 5 pounds by 8 weeks if you've got good genetics and feeding nothing but pellets. So maybe a little. They're not quite that that heavy yet. Don't stress about it. They're gonna be fine. Jasmine says you're correct, Chris. Oregano is in the mint family. I thought so, but wow, we got a lot of comments left. We're a little bit past time. I'm gonna have to wrap this one up. I'm just kind of scanning. There's one from Flock and Family Homestead. Good evening, sir. Hope all the family is well. Hope you like this cold snap. I don't know if I like it, but it's not that big a deal. All right, I got to wrap this one up, guys. Sorry. I'll be here all night if I keep talking, and I can keep talking. I am good at that. Thank you guys for joining me tonight. I appreciate it. I always appreciate it when you guys join me for a live broadcast. Barring any kind of unforeseen circumstances, we'll be back here again next Thursday evening at 7 o'clock Central. Hopefully we see all you guys back here again next week. Happy New Year to everyone. Hope you all had a great New Year, a good holiday season. I guess that's it for tonight. So as always, God bless. We will see you guys next time. Take care.